Wow, it's time. You know what it's time for, everybody? It's time for Lone Star Saturday.
Brought to you, of course, by, as we have been since we've been on the air, Lester's Insure One, and that's where we are now in his office studio. Your complete home and auto insurance agency, and by Dave Saylor and the Acadiana Cafe.
Oh, they're great.
The greatest Cajun food in South Texas.
Boy, I wish we had some now. Yeah. How come they didn't give us samples to start this show? We could have done a Cajun tasting.
That would have been awesome. Proper bait for the shrimp.
And our wonderful friend.
The crawfish is the best.
He's wearing the celebrity white hat because our favorite City Councilman Clayton Perry.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
10, the man who won 5 seconds after the polls closed on the election day. I went over to the campaign party. I'll just be honest, okay? I was sitting there and it's like everybody says he's winning. And then immediately when it was closed, okay, forget about this. We don't need any work. He won by like 65% of the vote immediately.
Yep. As soon as the early voting results were posted, that was it. It was over with. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Fantastic. It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. And it was a great feeling. And that was a great win. And
you've done a great job.
Yeah, well, he has. Yeah. I mean, it was like I'm not a weight off your shoulders. It was just done.
Yes, it was done.
But you had a great campaign staff. You've got a great bunch of people that supported you. That's
right. That's right. And all credit to them. They did a great job. And that's what campaigns are all about.
Gary and I are so excited to talk to you about what's going to happen in the city, because Gary called me and he said, Gary's one of my dear friends. He said to me, "You're not going to believe what happened in Austin. They're now going to be allowing tents anywhere on public land, literally in front of private homes. They can pitch a tent." And I thought, well, I wonder if that's going to happen in San Antonio. We've got very important heritage places like the Alamo and other places. What's the city council going to do with that, Senor City Councilman?
Well, if I have anything to do with it, that's not going to happen here in San Antonio.
But I have to say, the voters to get out.
I have to say that I'm concerned about that. If you go to the Rivard Report, you'll see an editorial by me just 2 days ago,
right,
talking about the cite and release program that our district attorney has implemented, where basically people that do a crime, whether it's a crime against a neighbor or anybody in town, or walking out with merchandise out of a store, if they get caught, they can, all they would get was a ticket, like a parking ticket.
Wow.
And that's it. And then you have to rely on that thief or whoever broke the law to show up to court to pay for their ticket. And let me tell you, I'm really concerned about that.
You should be. And
if you ever get a chance, go and watch Seattle is Dying. YouTube, it's about an hour long, but I'm concerned that San Antonio is kind of following that same path.
Austin's already going down that same avenue. It's going to destroy Austin, the great city that it is, with all the tourism and the big businesses that are coming in there. We are on YouTube beginning today.
Right, this is our YouTube channel. Thank you, Rob Hicks. A quick question here then, Councilman. It used to be, and I don't know, back in the day when I lived here before, Thursdays was the day for city council. People would come in there. In fact, I've talked about this on the air before. They used to have a group of women, and they were called Las Gorrudas. You know what that means?
No.
They were the hat ladies, okay? They were kind of like Madame Lafarge. And they would sit there, and they were from the west side of San Antonio, and they were really smart because they would sit there in the front row, and it was like they would be with their knitting, and they would keep an eyeball on all of the members of the city council when it came to issues that concerned them.
Wow.
So now when we have an issue like this that can affect not only tourism and business and safety and all of that, how do the regular constituents in San Antonio take a position to protect the city?
Well, that was a big issue when I first campaigned 2 years ago. And I was able to get a volunteer. Her name is Diana Kinney. She led a task force here in District 10 to help figure out what to do with the homeless problem, along with panhandling.
Right.
And we put a strategic plan together. I was able to get money to hire one individual to be like a homeless coordinator, to be that point of contact. If somebody sees something or they see somebody that needs some help, they can call or send her an email. I have that individual on board now that is actually
Great.
going out
Wonderful.
and being proactive in these situations and not waiting until something happens.
Well, here we have a situation potentially where this city, which has been such a family-friendly, great military city, thanks to you, Military City USA, we don't want to have a situation where the city hall in Los Angeles is like the breeding ground for plague, where you've got rats in the city hall that are running on four legs with fleas that are getting people ill. And, how do we, that becomes more than just even a security issue. It becomes a national health crisis.
Yeah, you're right. And I have been to Los Angeles, and it's pathetic.
It's sad.
It is sad that people have been put in that situation, and the sadder part about it is that they're being supported to stay in that position. They're out there, they're living, tent cities and just miles along the roads that's the way they're living, and the city is supporting them to live like that.
Feces.
They're allowing it to happen.
Needles.
It's terrible.
It's awful. And here's a late bullet, by the way. In Wimbledon today, just now, Simona Halep of Romania defeated Miss Williams.
Oh, wow.
In tennis.
Serena.
In the big upset.
Wow.
So anyway, it's late.
And you know what they're saying in Romania? Yabesc. You know what that means? They love it. They're happy about it.
I'm not going to tell you what they were saying. Anyway, we have Hurricane Barry,
right,
bearing down on New Orleans. We've got Tent City, which we're discussing. We've got our great hero on Nike's cover, Mr. Colin Kaepernick, in Betsy Ross shoes, and the flag that's not going to be flown as far as Nike's concerned. And now we saw earlier today the Gatlin brothers, Larry Gatlin.
Somebody had a T-shirt that said "Me no likey Nike." Go figure.
There was another one that said, "Kneeling is for the cross, standing is for the flag." And I thought that was Emmett Smith for that.
Can I bring this up with you guys? Because I saw that there was a city council that was thinking about trying to get rid of saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
St. Louis, Minnesota.
Okay, think about this, folks. When the pledge is not like some mindless pledge, it's supporting the country. Who is the country? The people that elected the person that is fighting saying the pledge.
Yes.
So if they won't say a pledge to the United States, meaning to the people and all of the principles that this country is for, what do they stand for? Are they going to take an oath on a Bible? Are they going to pledge to the Girl Scout oath? I mean, if you can't stand for the country, how can I trust you if you're elected if you can't take the most fundamental commitment to the laws of the country, to the people that elected you? I don't get it.
How about Miss Rapinoe, who dropped the flag and then would not put her hand over her heart as the American women won the World Cup tennis title, soccer title. And to me, she's not a true American. Yet the first thing she said was, "We need the same equal pay as the men." But I saw some statistics. The men make like 20 times more from their soccer matches than do the women. So that's why they get more money.
Yeah, but the other thing on stuff like that, I don't know how you all feel about this. My dad used to say that some people think that after me, you come first. All right. She's supposed to be the whole leader for that team, right?
Captain.
The captain of the team. But she was speaking out for her own self-interest. It was her point of view was more important than her team, than a member of the team that had to go and run in there and rescue the flag from being on the floor. Are we becoming a nation that is after me, you come first?
That's absolutely right.
Are we becoming selfish? What do you think, Clayton?
Well, I hate to actually say this, but I'm going to say it. If you read Roman history and what happened to Rome, and there's a lot of similarities there.
It burned while
Really
Nero fiddled is what happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
the whole country, it was decadence. It was, everybody for themselves.
Arrogance.
And it fell apart. It fell apart. And we need a wake up call. Is
Yes,
what
we do.
what I think. And this country has not really been tested, not like it was in World War II or World War One, where we came together as one country and defeated the enemy because we were threatened. I mean, we were attacked, and we really haven't come together for a sustained period the way
There's a
that
very
So
short-lived-
you're working on
Yeah.
a bipartisan council, which is supposed to be. How do you work with them? Because everybody really, even though, and we'll just say, I'll say this, is that the council is supposed to be nonpartisan, but everybody has their little political ideology and reasons why they take positions so they'll get reelected. You're a pretty reasonable guy. How do you work with the folks on that council to serve in the best interests of the city?
Well, first it comes to a personal relationship. You have to develop a personal relationship with them. And I get along with everybody on council. I really do. And that's how you start working the ideology and the policy issues to try to come to a consensus. But you have to have that relationship first. You can't just walk in and say, this is what we're going to do, because I'm just one vote on the council. There's 11 votes, 10 districts and the mayor. And the mayor is just one vote.
Right.
That's all he is.
He's the team captain, so to speak.
Yeah. And, but you have to develop that personal relationship first to be able to talk with them, sit down for breakfast and sit down and talk about issues and say, hey, this is where I'm at. I know where you're at. Is there somewhere in between that we can come together? And that's really what government is about. I mean, you have to come up with those compromises.
So should folks go to the council meetings when they're open and have, because honestly, it's kind of an education for them to see you. And I'm talking about you in the general sense.
Right.
See how the mayor operates, see where you all sit, see who your staff members are, learn where your offices are, and the process that you go through every week to be able to come to a consensus that affects everyone who lives here.
That's very important to get to the council meetings. But I tell you what, when things come up for a vote on council and there's citizens to be heard, let me tell you, if you don't get in and visit those council folks before the council meeting to talk to them and, put your argument out there, however you want something to go,
Right.
It's too late by the time you get to the council meeting. There's decisions have been made, and they know how they're going to vote because they do all the staff work beforehand. And, I've seen very, very few times where sitting up there on the dais that you change your mind,
Right.
or people will change their mind. You pretty much know how everybody is going to vote before the vote's going to happen.
So they need to have had a meeting where they know
they got to
exactly.
get with their councilman before the council meetings and discuss issues. And it's kind of bad because the agenda is posted a week before, and so you got that 1 week time frame to get in and discuss it and try to get your points across before that council meeting where the vote is actually taken. Waiting until that council meeting is really too late.
It's too late.
It's getting close to noon, of course, and that means you get a little hungry. But it's been been more than 35 years, actually, since Frenchie Guidry opened his Cajun food restaurant on Jones Montsburger. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie was the chef. Well, more than a quarter century later, Dave Saylor, and you probably had Dave down there at the Acadiana.
Mm-hmm.
He has the best Cajun food in South Texas, probably in the whole state. Gets his shrimp, by the way, from Kaplan, Louisiana. and they have the giant shrimp. It also features chicken fried steak, chicken and dumplings, fried chicken, meatloaf, roast beef, fried catfish, if you so desire.
He's looking over there at Clayton, and he's not sharing that with me. Maybe he's just afraid that I will really take him up and go over there and eat it.
Well, I tell you what, I'm partial to their crawfish. You know,
Absolutely.
Shrimp is great, but I'm partial to
Do
crawfish.
you suck them or?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
I
And
know.
that's an art. You got to.
Yeah, I say.
That there is an art to doing that, and I've mastered it on my level.
Well, I have.
We're going to
not.
have to see how that is. We're going to have to go over. We should broadcast from
There you go.
Morning, noon, or night, the Acadiana Cafe. And by the way, Dave, he's the busiest in town during Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday time, with their giant, deep vat fried turkeys.
Yeah.
Call 210-674-0019. 210-674-0019, located at 1289 Southwest Route 410. That's down by Westover Theater, the Acadiana. And we want to thank John Lester. He's been so
John
patient
Lester's the
and
best.
philanthropic and patient with us. And here we are using his office as our studio. Lester Insure One Agency. They can provide all of your needs for your home and your family and the future. All you have to do is to call 210-541-9771.
And I can even take that further, because if you're out of the city and you're watching us, John Lester's all over the country. And the great thing about calling Lester Insurance is that he'll get you the best price. And all those people that are doing the commercials about insurance, they're all under his umbrella. So you can go to 888-380-9059 or LesterInsure1.com.
That's a great advice and great numbers to remember. Oh, by the way, happy birthday today. This was one of my first great modern day heroes, Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
In 1989, he was 37 years old. Harrison Ford made his first Indiana Jones
And
movie.
do you know that he is now still one of the top box office guys? And what is he? He's almost
77 today.
77.
Wow.
I saw him
Is he
in
really
DC.
that old? Wow.
Yeah, he looks pretty good. I saw him in DC at the Four Seasons Hotel. He was there for a meeting in DC. This is a few years ago. And all the girls said that when he went and got his hair cut, he flirted with all the girls. He still had
Why
that
not?
charm.
Yeah.
Why not?
But did you know he was a carpenter? That's how he started his career.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's a wood crafting carpenter.
Great
And
actor,
he's going to make another Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that senior
No
citizen
kidding.
style.
And do you know who is not going to be in that movie?
Who's not?
Shia LaBeouf. Do you remember Shia LaBeouf?
The one that
And the
inherited
last-
the cat. I mean,
The
the
one
hat. Like
that was going to be his,
Oh, yeah.
that came on as his
Yeah.
son in the
Yeah.
last one. He's become such a diva
yeah.
on the movies that Shia LaBeouf got buffed off.
Did it really?
So, yeah.
How about Karen Allen? Is she going to be in this one?
I don't know. She was in the last one,
Yeah.
but I don't think so. I don't think that she'll be
Also,
in
the
this one.
birthday today for the founder of Boys Town, Edward J. Flanagan, born on this
Father
date,
Flanagan.
1886. And this guy used to say, peace, remember? Dave Garroway. He was the first guy that I remember watching.
No, what was the line though that Father Flanagan said in Boys Town? Is there's no such thing as a bad boy, or he had a line about that. And wasn't it Spencer Tracy
Played the part
Father
with Mickey
Flanagan?
Rooney.
With Mickey Rooney.
In 1928, this guy, I thought I knew him quite well. I'd have coffee with him almost every day when I was a mail boy at CBS in Hollywood.
Okay.
His name was Bob Crane.
Oh,
Bob
Hogan's hero.
Crane.
1928, he was born.
And
Wow.
he went astray. You met him before he went astray.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any idea that he was on that side of life. And if you are a basketball fan, as we are in San Antonio,
Okay.
this guy, and John remembers his name, Frank Ramsey, All-American at Kentucky, was a Boston Celtics star. He was born 1931. Jack Kemp,
Oh, I knew Jack
Congressman.
Kemp. I knew Jack Kemp.
born in 1935. And golfer Charles Cootie of Fort Worth was born in 1937. So, and I believe he did win the Ben Hogan tournament up there, Colonial, several years ago.
Trickle down economy. Jack Kemp was an interesting guy. Worked for, well,
And a good quarterback for Buffalo.
yeah.
Great
He
quarterback.
was.
Yeah. But we are so
Did he
glad.
also play with Denver Broncos?
I'd have to go back in my files.
Okay. I think he did.
I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
John's looking it up for us.
Oops.
And
sports trivia I may know or may not know.
in 1982, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game was played for the first time outside the U.S. Where was it played?
You got me. You got me.
John ought to know that.
What
Where
was the
it played?
question?
Montreal.
Montreal, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Quebecois.
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat
Parlez-vous français?
Oui.
See?
See,
And who was
Oui, oui.
the Astro star that was traded to Montreal? Became a great hero in Montreal. Le Grand Orange. Rusty Staub.
Oh, that's your voice.
See there, you learned so
That's
much.
for my what day. I was going to say Rosie O'Donnell, but
She is a god.
we're trying to recruit her there. I mean,
Rosie O'Donnell has been very negative about the president and his daughter. And I thought to myself, I don't know if you followed Rosie O'Donnell's career, and I know a lot of people make jokes about it. She's had a terrible relationship with her own daughter. One of her daughters, her adopted daughter, Chelsea, left home, ran away from home, had mental health issues. And I find it curious that some of these people that have brutal things to say about family members, they don't look in their own backyard on some of those things. Because she had a terrible relationship.
She's a terrible person.
he who lives in a glass house shouldn't throw stones.
Yeah, they should maybe get Windex.
No, well, she's throwing more than stones. She was throwing boulders at the president, and I can't stand her for that. By the way, 1956 on this date. It was the first
Sung by Elvis?
song by Elvis, released on this date in 56, and Hound Dog.
Wow. And they would only shoot him from here up on
Because he gyrated.
Yeah, and they thought it would make women faint.
And
Isn't that hilarious?
yeah. And it was also in Arkansas. This was a heck of a medical story. In 1984, Terry Willis was injured in a car accident and was left in a comatose state. He awoke in 2003, 19 years later.
Wow.
Now, Rob Hicks is saying that Jack Kemp did not play for the Denver Broncos.
No, he played on the practice squad for the Lions in 57. Played for the Steelers in 57.
Okay.
The Calgary Stampede, that's the CFL, in 59. He was with the LA and San Diego Chargers from 1960 to 62.
There you go.
And then from 1962 to 69, he was with the Buffalo Bills, which he did end up on the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame.
There you go.
Jack Kemp was a great, great quarterback and a very great man and father, too, as you mentioned, father. So, but we want to thank Acadiana Cafe and Dave Saylor for being with us. And we got plenty of time.
We do have plenty of time. You're just ready to, the guys come over here like with this enormous appetite. Okay, I want to go back to.
Making me hungry too.
I want to get back to what's happening in the city. One of the things that I've noticed is pretty much around the country right now, these electric scooters are being, that people are prohibiting them. A lot of accidents. Are we still allowing them in San Antonio?
Yes, we are allowing them, but we've put a moratorium on bringing more in. We've stopped that, and what we're doing, we're putting an RFP, a request for proposal, to put out to these companies to bid on supplying scooters, a certain number, not going over 5,000. I think we capped it at 5,000.
Right.
But putting it out to bid and letting them tell us how they're going to control them, keep them neat, and make them as safe as possible.
Right.
So we're putting that out, and hopefully we'll have that out on the street and awarded by October.
How many scooters will you be allowing?
5,000. Up to
Cap it.
5,000. Cap it at 5,000.
Quick question.
Remember, it's the majority of them are downtown.
Right.
But I've seen some of them up in
Yeah.
this area
Me too.
also.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Alamo Heights, and the other thing is that they don't have a place to literally park them. So
No, they
sometimes you
Well,
see them thrown on the side of the
that's part of
sidewalk.
what we're going to be evaluating these contractors.
Parking
on.
stations, maybe?
Yeah, parking stations. How are they going to make sure that they stay there?
Right.
How are they, all of that stuff. How are they going to control them?
Well, Joe Miller's son is his nickname Scooter. So I wonder if he's going to be able to park somewhere.
All right.
But we have changed the rule. You cannot take them down sidewalks anymore. They have to be in the
Good
street
rule.
because they are really a motorized vehicle.
Right, they are. But what
Yeah.
about age limit on this? I mean, you don't want kids on the street.
You have
How
to be
about weight
16 or
limits?
older. weight limits, I don't think there's any weight
Well,
limits.
it's,
That again, that's all going to be up to the contractors when they put their proposal together on how they're going to control them.
didn't the city council just approve this week a special position for a guy about 90 grand a year called, what's he called?
He's like a bike cop.
I just read that yesterday or day before yesterday. It was, I don't know where the position came from. If it was an existing, an empty position that nobody was against, but they did hire somebody to become a mobility type of person, a walkability or whatever you want to call
Well,
it. But,
it's not much different than cops on horses like they have in New York City.
yeah, but again, we were already doing things here in San Antonio.
90 grand is a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
With all
why
your
do we need
benefits.
somebody to specifically work in that area?
Yeah.
So, we're going to see, I'm going to see how it goes. And, is this position really worth having
I
here in the
agree.
city?
90 grand a year.
Okay, I have another important question. And, I've been away for a little bit of time, and I know you have all the scoop on this. What is the status of what's happening with the Alamo and the Cenotaph, and where is that going? What do we know?
Well, as you know, there was a vote taken to basically lease the land to the state. So the city is really out of the picture now.
Out of the loop.
We don't own, well, we own it, but it's the state's property now. And it's really up to the state to determine what they're going to do to the whole Alamo grounds. That's the battlefield, the chapel, Long Barracks. All of that is under control of the state now. And the city, I'm sure that we'll have an opportunity to review the designs and make comments and that. They just recently hired the architect that's going to start on this
But
plan.
are they going to move
The Cenotaph's going to be moved. Yeah.
Oh,
It's gonna be moved, yeah,
what
yeah,
a waste
yeah.
of money.
Yeah. And,
Is that
again,
unanimous vote?
No, I voted against all of
He
that.
voted against all of it. He's been an advocate.
Can we
to
bring it up
preserve
again?
That would be up to the mayor, but again, we've
How much
already
is-
signed it over to the state.
Jeez.
It's really up to the state.
So
now.
really, the thing would be to talk to the governor's office.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where you have to take this to, is up at the governor's office. But there was some bills filed this last legislative session to stop the program and not move the Cenotaph, and it all failed. So it's going through the system.
John, you got a question?
Free the Right sent out a invitation this morning. Greg Abbott's actually coming to town August.
Good questions
3rd,
to
I
ask
think.
him.
So, yeah.
August the 3rd, so maybe we
At
could have
the,
a
country club, I think
little
she
lunch with
Yeah.
Governor Abbott, but we probably need to get to Governor Abbott before then.
Oh yeah,
I mean, time is a waste, and we can't waste
Yeah.
time
We've
on
got to
this
get
one.
to, we got to get to him, but because of that, we've got to get to him with the Austin tent city and prevent it from happening here.
Mhm.
Because I'm not being disparaging here, but I think our mayor has a liberalized attitude that he might go along with the Austin mayor, who has a liberalized attitude, and allow it to happen. So,
Well,
we
the
gotta fight
question
it.
is this, and certainly, I mean, I think people honestly get it, that there are a lot of people that are in serious need. Certainly in California, property taxes and the price to buy a home is so expensive that people are leaving California, and where are they coming to? They're coming to Texas.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, but the question then is, we're talking about our sanitation, we're talking about health restrictions. We have the concern even right now with diseases that are coming into across the border that are measles and mumps, and there was even a question about Ebola. So at what point do we say the health and well-being of a city has to be considered, and are they going to, I mean, they're the same numbers of people who were there before. Do they need at work programs as opposed to, I mean, do we need a jobs program that would help people get work so they don't have to live in tents?
We need prayer. in
Let
this
me tell
city,
you,
too.
we have, how much money is either being spent from the city, state, or federal resources here in San Antonio a year for the homeless population? And we got the last point in time count was a little less than 3,000 homeless folks here in the city. $50 million.
Ooh.
You could build huge.
Do the math on
You
how
can
much
do-
money we're
yeah.
spending. And that does not count all the nonprofits out there and churches
Right.
doing their
Oh, yeah, the
thing.
Catholic Church is
$50
doing a lot.
million.
$50 million just in hard cash being spent out of the city's coffers, the state and the federal
And the
government.
Columbus Society is having a benefit today for a big charitable thing too, with the
That's
meatballs and
the
spaghetti.
100 Club.
Yes.
I'm going there.
Well, that-
Absolutely.
You talk about great food.
Yeah.
And
then
Gary
around-
comes back on his feet again.
We have to make sure he eats. He's,
Julius Germano used to be in charge of that at Anderson Advertising.
Right.
You know,
But yeah, $50 million a year
Wow.
that we are spending here in San Antonio for the homeless.
you
homeless
could
situation.
build
You know, it's
places for
amazing.
the homeless to reside.
And
You build a
you're gonna hear,
campus,
you're
your whole
gonna,
campus.
you're gonna hear more about this during our budget process in August and September. You know, I'm sure that they're gonna want to put more money towards that. And I'm gonna say, how much is enough? You know,
Yes.
they're already $50 million.
Okay,
going
so you've
for
got
that
$50
situation.
million going there, and this is for homeless citizens of this country.
Mhm.
So now those people are out of work and can't make enough money. So now we're going to have a situation where a lot of people, in order to gain political advantage / power, would open the borders to be able to allow other folks to come in, who will then make it more difficult for those homeless people to get jobs.
Let me tell you, right
what's your
now,
thought on
let me
that?
tell you, our economy is so strong. There's a job for everybody.
That's right.
We're basically fully employed here in San Antonio. We got less than 3% unemployment, which basically means you're fully employed. There's employers out there that are begging for people to come
True.
work for them.
Yeah.
They've increased their prices, their wages, and everything, trying to entice people to come in, but there's still a lack of people.
All
And
right.
then you have this homeless problem.
What-
You got 3,000 people
Would
out
you
there.
say that the homeless problem are people who are either mentally ill, on
There's a lot of that.
drugs,
There's a lot.
you
There's a
know,
lot
or
of
what, you know?
a lot of those problems out there. Mental illness, drug use,
I was gonna say
and we have
opioids.
programs to help them with that. But you have to want that help. We can't force it on them. And there's people out there that do not want the
There's a
help.
note adage that always said you can't help someone if they don't want to help themselves, and that's the case of 3,000. Most of those are
Yeah.
in
Even
that
if I'm-
category.
Yeah.
And we are just
Come over here if you're gonna
Well,
ask
no,
that
let me just
question.
add, so of that 50 million, is part of that for the funding for Haven for Hope?
Yes,
Okay, how much of that 50 million is Haven for Hope? a part
$7
of that?
million out of it.
They're only, so where's
So
the other
43
43 million going to?
yeah.
That's my question, Rob, is where's all this money going to? I can tell you where it's going to. It's going to various organizations, administrative costs, you know,
Wow.
all of that, you know, to develop an organization, you have overhead, you have
Yeah.
salaries and all that stuff. That's where the majority of that
Well,
money
it
is
used
going
to be with a lot of the 501c3s, they would have, which are the nonprofit organizations, they would have to be able to show that a certain percentage was not going to overhead, that a significant percentage was going to go into the mission of the organization. But
Let me
that's
tell you,
turned all topsy-turvy.
Let me tell you, you can make numbers say whatever you want them
Of
to
course
say.
you can.
And how they report how they're paying for administration, and that it's all, to me, it's all smoke and mirrors.
You're right. Absolutely.
You can make those numbers say whatever you want them to say. And yes, they might be meeting that, but still there's administrative costs and overhead and salaries and all that. And people don't, when they hear nonprofit, that means, well, they don't make a profit. You know, it's like a free agency. Absolutely not.
Not
These
true.
nonprofits
Not true. They make a
gobble
lot
up
of money.
a lot
Oh,
of money.
And yet, let me tell you about another nonprofit, the Baptist Children and Family Services, BCFS. They have been badmouthed by many of the so-called ultra-liberals about wanting to provide 200 mattresses and beds for the children down in Carrizo Springs.
Yeah.
And Mayfair was the company that the employees wanted to,
And so
Pick
what
it.
happened?
and they wanted, well, they walked out. because they didn't want to work because it said it was a pro-Trump program. Kevin Denon and his staff have done a magnificent job in all sections of the
I'm
state.
so fed up with this nonsense. I really got to tell you. I'm so tired of people right now. You've got people that will say, well, don't do it because it's either pro-Trump or not do it. I am tired of people that wear masks and carry sticks and protest because they're cowardly thugs. I am tired of members of Congress who won't cut deals to make a difference to help people because they know it's close to the 2020 election and they don't want to help support the president. Again, it's very arrogant, self-serving, and selfish not to help this country stay on its feet and to be able to maintain the rule of law. I think I like what you said about how you work on the council trying to get around and try to deal with people regardless of their own political point of view.
Now we know they've been headlined 4 women who are battling Mrs. Pelosi every day. So we have 4 women who are making decisions that may affect the entire country. For the first time in I don't know how many years, we have a majority of women in San Antonio who are controlling the council voting block, right? So is that going to affect us down the line in issues like we were talking about with the tent cities and all that?
You know, I've had conversations with the 3 new councilwomen up there, and you know, this majority of women thing is not important to them. They won their elections.
I'm glad to hear that.
They are an individual,
Great.
and they are there to do their job. And they're not looking at this as a sexist type of thing. They got elected
To
for
serve
this
men
job.
and women.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. So I was very happy to see that. There's a lot of statements and articles and news propaganda about, oh, it's a majority of women on the council now. You know, I don't look at it that way. They are an individual. I don't look at them being
You
a
know,
man
what's
or woman.
so interesting to me with this thing of Nancy Pelosi versus Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the other 3 women. Oh, yeah, exactly. The funny thing about that is here, you know, whether you like her or you don't like her, Pelosi won again. She maintained the control as the speaker.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is when you think about the voting of the millennials, they're now look like the old guys because millennials aren't the new young people coming up. So you have these 4 rogue women who are attacking the woman who is the speaker. And they think that they're going to be able to bowl her over because they're cute, they're young, they got big voices.
And don't know anything.
Well, but that doesn't matter anything. They're getting a lot of support from a biased press who are editorializing. The thing of it is, this is going to be an interesting battle to watch because while Pelosi irritates a lot of people, she didn't get where she was because she's a pushover. So it's going to be an interesting battle behind the scenes to see how she gets them and takes them down. Will she be able to help other people on her own side of the aisle run against them? Will she make sure that people that give money don't give to them? This is the battle scene that's going on in D.C. that most people aren't watching because right now they see him out there. They don't realize she's real hardball. If they think they're going to get away with this, it's going to be an interesting battle.
Nick Greengood said it best the other day. These 4 women, they're making a voice, but they don't have any support behind them. Now, if there was 15 to 20 people supporting them, you know, and 20 people were against Pelosi on it, then Pelosi may have to give in. And,
Pelosi's never going to give in.
If they had support, they could get something done. But right now, Pelosi's poised to not do anything for these 4 women and give them anything they want for their constituents.
But those women are working on moving the needle, okay? And you're seeing that happen with the 20 candidates that are running on the Democratic side of the aisle. So now you have Joe Biden, okay, Uncle Joe, who was supposed to be seen as the moderate, the one in the middle. Well, he realizes that train is passing him. So in order to be able to appeal to what he thinks is going to be the turnout in the electorate, he's going to become
But
more
it's typical
progressive.
of politics. Tell them what you want to hear, but never do what they want. I mean, we've
Maybe.
heard that for years.
Yeah, but
Trump's
it's
the only guy
changing.
that's got up there and do what he
Well,
said he was gonna do.
okay, we mentioned this last week, the fact that border control is out of hand. We know that. And now we've got so many issues with Austin and with possibly San Antonio's tent city. But 2 weeks ago, there was a situation at the immigration center where it has a capacity of 350. They asked for city volunteers. So 6 volunteers went over there. There was no police, no security, no instruction, no help. These people worked for 10, 12 hours. They had to take them to the airport. They had to feed them. And the toughest group to deal with were the people from the Congo. One, they couldn't speak English. And as I said this a couple weeks ago, the city health director said they had certification that they'd had their shots. They couldn't speak English, so there was no way they could determine if they had their shots. So
talk to us about that, Clayton.
as you had mentioned earlier, it only takes one case of Ebola to destroy a society.
All right. So how did we miss the boat on that?
Well, Dr. Bridger, she's over our health department. She basically came out and said, well, they came in through the checkpoints, checked by the federal government when they came across, and then they were rechecked here in San Antonio with their health conditions and their as much history as they could get. So she said there was no way that they could be infected with Ebola because they didn't just come across. It took them months to get over here, and
they would have died by that time.
And the gestation period and all that stuff was all passed before they even came into this country.
Do you think that people spread that rumor to cause a scare?
It could have been. It could have been. I don't know.
I don't know where that came from. Measles and mumps and other diseases.
They check them. They check them as much as they can
no French
here.
speakers over there.
Again, what do you do? Do you keep them here in San Antonio?
Well, yeah, I know. I think
get them out of here as quickly as possible?
I don't know about your background. My mom was from Mexico, but my father's family was from Liverpool. They had to come through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And when they came through Ellis Island, they quarantined them.
That's right.
Okay, they quarantined them. People forget about that. They go over and they look at the Statue of Liberty and they read all the documents about Ellis Island. They were tough on that at Ellis Island.
They were very tough, and they had to be able to show that they're going to be protective citizens and
had money. And they have a certain amount of money to come into the country.
And they couldn't just come into the country and let the country sustain them.
Now, the funny thing is, if you're a dual citizen in Mexico, you can't go in that country and vote. You got limitations even if you're a dual citizen. But people want to come to this country and have more benefits than a lot of people.
No, it's not. I don't think that's the expectation. It's the government providing that to them. When there's honest people wanting to come over here and start a new life, get a job, be productive, that kind of thing. But the government takes it just the opposite. Let us take care of you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to give you all these benefits and what have you. And we have our own citizens out there that are without homes,
absolutely,
and without jobs,
living in the streets now in Austin.
And Congressman Garcia. Yesterday, when
Chewy Garcia from Illinois.
Oh, he was so rude
to Holman.
Yes, and Mr. Holman, boy, he didn't let it go by the wayside. He fought
about
back.
His career as law enforcement and on the border patrol. Forget it. You're going to see here. We'd love to hear from you, and many of you agree with us, and a lot of you will disagree with us. We want your thoughts, and we're delighted if you can watch us on YouTube. And we want you to subscribe. You'll see a little thing down there to subscribe so that we can let you know as well when we've got new episodes coming up. And we're always very grateful to our wonderful, most important sponsor, John Lester. You can see the sign right behind us, Lester Insurance, lesterinsure1.com. Whether it's your home, your auto, your boat, your health, whatever, John Lester deals with so many companies that he can find out for you the best and most affordable plan for you individually or for your family. Now, I always give the 888-380-9059 because I want you to know that John Lester is not just here in San Antonio and in Texas, he's around the country. And most of the times you're going to talk to John himself. He's a very good guy, someone that we're proud to associate with, and we're very grateful to his sponsorship.
There's a question right now that the president has to answer, and that is the problem of the census. I mean, it's almost necessity and imperative that we know where people have come from and if they're American citizens or not. But now they're having to print all of these forms that you're not allowed to ask them where they're from.
Yep, that's a done deal.
So
That's a done deal.
And you know the funny thing, I worked in the 1990 census. And I worked in the area dealing with the Hispanic outreach. And the thing that most people don't know is that the Border Patrol and the immigration naturalization, they never really, during the period when the census was being taken, they didn't go in and do any busts. They didn't go in and arrest people. The basic thing was to find out how many people were living where, and it was a very understated thing, but it was just to find out the population. The other thing is there were a lot of forms because you have to remember, Spanish is not universal in one way. There's different words that mean different things. Puerto Ricans speak different than Cubans, speak different than Mexicans, speak different than Salvadorians, etc. So they went to a lot of processes. Also, how the census was delivered. And it was delivered in some places almost by donkey and horseback in places in Puerto Rico. The other interesting thing is whether you get the long form or you get the short form. Most people don't realize that Hispanic is not a race. It's an ethnicity. You've got white Hispanics, black Hispanics, Asian Hispanics. You've got all varieties of Hispanics. And do you self-identify as being Hispanics? Some people are a quarter Hispanic, half Hispanic, 75% Hispanic. How do you identify? It's a little bit more complicated than most people realize.
If we get now just the last few minutes of the show today, we're going to be an hour because we have a great Acadiana Cafe along with us today. And
the great Clayton Perry.
Mouth-watering shrimp that they offer and the
Crawfish.
But there were some trades in the NBA this week which have stunned a lot of people. Westbrook is going from Oklahoma City after almost 10 full seasons. He's going to Houston where he's going to be again with Steve Harden. Maybe that makes the Rockets a better team for the championship potential. And then you got Chris Paul going to Oklahoma City, reported being traded to Miami. We don't know if that's confirmed yet or not. And then you have, of course, Leonard, who led the Toronto Raptors to a championship, decided, no, I want more money, so I'm going to go to the West Coast. And so he did. It's the first time I can recall that players have really controlled the contractual arrangements and the free agency of the NBA. And I think Silver's doing a weak job in trying to control it. What does a contract mean anymore? If you shake hands, I broke the story in 1964 when Tom Landry was dealing with Clint Murkison of the Cowboys. A handshake and a verbal agreement said, I'll be here for the next 10 years. And it was a handshake, and that was a binding total agreement, and they never questioned it. Now, it doesn't make any difference. You can have 5 guys witnessing it with 2 agents, and you still can break the contract and get out of it. So I don't understand, but anyway, that's the NBA today. And then you've got the Astros. They lost last night to the Rangers after they had a 4-run lead. They still lost a game. They're not the same team they were last year. And you've got so many things going in Spurs Summer League. Becky Hammond, by the way, is coaching the Spurs Summer League team in Austin. And the only woman I know in the NBA that's the coach of an NBA team, and I think that's great. But there's so much going on, and we're so glad to have you along. Well, Dave Saylor here with the Acadiana for 35 years.
We want to go over there to the Acadiana and go with Clayton and see how he does with those things.
I want to see how he does it and then such that thing.
Yeah. No, it's an art form.
It is.
It is. It really is.
But Frenchie Guidry had the first, I remember anyway, the first crawfish festival when he had this place down on Jackson Keller. He was flooded out 3 times and then finally moved up.
Wow.
I don't know. I always think of Granny Clampett. Crawdads. Remember she used to talk
Yeah,
about
crawdads.
crawdads.
Yep, crawdads.
Are they? Anything? Is that real? Do they really have? Is there such
That's
a thing
what they
as
call
crawdads?
crawdads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crawdads.
Hilarious.
Sure
Yeah.
do.
And we want to thank, of course, we always talk about our good friend John Lester. Lester Insurance. Go to lesterinsure1.com. You're going to get the best appraisal on a policy that'll work for you and your family. And Clayton Perry, who is our wonderful friend. We really respect him and appreciate that he stops by and visits with us.
Absolutely.
And takes
I
time
enjoy
for
it and I
us.
appreciate the invitations. And I just want to put in a plug about the
Please.
Top 100 Club today. Today and tomorrow, they're having the spaghetti lunch. I think it starts at 11 o'clock and goes till like 3 o'clock today and tomorrow as well. So if you have a chance, go over there and get the
Where is
ticket.
it? Columbus Society.
Yes,
The
Columbus
Christopher
Society.
Columbus
Yeah.
Society.
And they do an excellent job. I've been there the last several years, and the enthusiasm and the support that goes to the Top 100 Club is
Yes.
amazing.
All right, so here's the question before we leave, because you're going to go over there and get that spaghetti. All right, now some people, they have a way, some people just dig in with their fork and they twist it around. Some people go to the spaghetti and they cut it with a knife. Some people take a spoon, put the spaghetti on there and twist it. What do you do?
I just stick it right in the middle and twirl it and get a big old glob of spaghetti and stick it in my mouth.
And
Good
get it over your
idea.
shirt.
Yes.
That's part of it.
You can actually put a bib on,
I would do it.
and
There you go.
do that. But
Manja, manja.
I really encourage folks to go out there and support. They do a wonderful job. I've witnessed the scholarships and the support that
Great.
they give to families that have lost a loved one as a first responder.
Oh,
Well,
that's
here's the thing
wonderful.
also, there were 2 other police, law enforcement officers
Yeah.
who died in the line of duty this past week.
Yes.
And we're just getting such disrespect from some of our so-called leaders that they don't appreciate what these young men and women do every day when they leave the house. They don't know if they're going to be the
You
attorney.
need to ride
at
along
home.
with them, Gary.
Oh,
You
I've
know,
done it many
I
times.
know
in the
you
past.
have, and I have when I started Crime Stoppers in the city. And I think it's important to ride along with these
Absolutely.
cops and get to know 'em.
I've been and several times, and it really opens your eyes to what
Well,
what
We're
they go
getting
through.
the hook right now.
No,
The
let me tell you.
people- all
just
right,
let me
all
fin-
right.
May I
That-
say something?
yes, you
Okay,
may.
thank you very much.
Time's up.
All right. Bye. See ya.
Kidding. I was kidding you.
All right. I've been on the scene when too many cops have been shot or killed. And in Houston in 1968, I was there. I'll never forget his name. His name was Louis Cuba. He was 28 years old, and I was right behind him when he got shot between the eyes in a civil disobedient event. And the one behind me, Detective Paul Archer, got shot in the face. And once you've experienced that, you have such a tremendous respect knowing what these young men and women go through.
Right.
And no one really appreciates it. They didn't in 1968. They appreciate even less today.
Mhm.
And thank goodness we do have, whether you like him or dislike him, Donald Trump is pro law enforcement and pro fire. Yesterday, they had a great story on ABC about the fire department at Redding, California, who spent 18 straight days battling the forest fires
Right.
in Southern California. So we want to thank them today. It'd be a good chance to say bye.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank all of not only our law enforcement, our military, and their families that serve as well. That was very important information. Clayton, John, Rob, Gary,
David.
thank all of you for tuning into our program. Don't forget to subscribe to see that little button down there. We'd appreciate it. We look forward to hearing from you. Until next Saturday, I'm Blanquita Cullum along with Gary DeLaune, Clayton Perry, and our gang. This is Long Story Saturday.